welcome back. We're in Module 2 and we are now down to Section 4 where I wanted to talk to you about the order of operations in math. And if you think back to middle school, maybe around 6th grade or so, our teacher taught us the order of operations in math, but most of us don't remember it. And now that we have to use it, well, we're going to have to relearn it. So let's go ahead and flip over to Excel and I'll show you what the order of operations actually is. Math of any kind will always follow the order of operations. Excel will look through your formula, and if it sees anything in parentheses like you see here, it will do what's in parentheses first. There's no exceptions to that. Then it will look for any exponents, and that would be if you had 4 to the second power, for example. Then it will look for any multiplication or division, and then addition or subtraction. I want to go ahead and give you a good example of why you need to write your formulas keeping this in mind, because if you don't write them correctly, your answers will be wrong and you won't even know it. I want to come over here to cell A8 and I'm going to go ahead and put in here April projections. What I'd like to do is predict what my April sales are going to be and also what my April expenses are going to be. There are a lot of ways to do this, but let's say that we want to take our first month and our last month and just divide by 2. That's all we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and put my equal sign in here. I'm going to have it add my first month plus my last month, which in this case happens to be B2 plus B4. And then whatever that answer is, I want to divide it by 2. And that's all I want to do. I'm going to hit the Enter key and see what we get. Now if you notice we got 262.5, and we can look at this very easily and tell that answer is not correct. But if you're working with a long list of numbers, it's not always that easy to eyeball it. Let's go ahead and examine what Excel did and we'll see why we got that incorrect answer. I'm going to double click and open the formula back up. My first question is, do you see any parentheses in this formula? No. Do you see any exponents? No. Do you see any multiplication? No. Do you see any division? Yes. The first thing Excel did was this part right here. It took B4, which is 225, and divided it by 2. The only thing left to do was add B2. I didn't want to do that. What I wanted to do was add B2 and B4 together to get an answer and divide that answer by 2. So if you notice what I've done is just enclose that B2 plus B4 in parentheses so that we do that first. And now if I enter, notice I get a totally different answer. When I go back and look at this now, if I said, are there any parentheses, you can see there are, and it's going to add my first and last month together, get an answer, and divide it by 2. Let me go ahead and just do the expenses again just to show you one more time. I'm going to start with equals. I know that I want to add my first month and my last month together first, so I'll go ahead and close that in parentheses, and then I'm going to divide the whole thing by 2. And you can see in this case it's 167.5. Now I could practice one more, but I'm going to go ahead and use the fill handle and copy that across, and now you can see I have all of my answers. That gives you a quick overview of the order of operations in math. Remember, that's probably the most important thing about formulas. Always think about, is it going to automatically do what I want first? If not, enclose it in parentheses. And by the way, if you see a formula that has multiple sets of parentheses, it's always going to work from left to right. It'll add whatever's in the first set, then it'll do whatever's in the second set all the way across. You can also have parentheses inside of parentheses, which would look something like this. That's called nested functions. When you have something like that, it's going to do the inner ones first and then go back and do the outer ones all the way across. And you can have up to 10 levels of those. We'll see some of those as we move along as well. But that's your order of operations. Now that you know what that is, let's go ahead and finish up Module 2 and move over to Section 5, where I'm going to talk to you about working with